A school janitor's quiet dedication caught Baron Trump's eye, and what he did in response changed everything. The sun had barely begun to rise when Ronald James Packeroff, the Oxbridge nice old battered sedan in the far Academy parking lot. He always chose the same spot a lead out of the way as if to avoid drawing attention to the vehicle's peeling paint and dented bumper. The engine gave one final cough before dying, and Ronald sighed, gripping the steering wheel for a moment. Another day, another chance to make ends meet. He grabbed his thermos from the passenger seat, gave the dashboard a gentle pat, as if to thank the car for holding on another day, and stepped out. The early morning air was cool and the world was still quiet except for the faint chirp of birds and the distant rumble of a delivery truck. Oxbridge Academy was coming to life slowly, pushing his trusty clean air rig cart down the empty corridors. He felt a sense of pride. The floors gleamed under the overhead lights, the result of his meticulous care. He knew most people didn't notice, but that didn't matter to him. For Ronald, it wasn't about recognition. It was about doing the job right. Every classroom, every hallway, every trash can. He approached them all with the same quiet dedication to the students. Ronald was simply Mr. James, the janitor who always seemed to have a kind word or a warm smile ready. He knew their names, their favorite sports, even their quirks. "Good morning, Marcus. How's that science project coming along?" "Hey, Jenny. I saw that goal you scored yesterday. Impressive." These small exchanges were a part of his daily rhythm, a way to connect in a role that often felt invisible, and yet his kindness never faltered. A way to connect in a role that often felt invisible, and yet his kindness never faltered, even when his body ached from hours of scrubbing and mopping. But outside these walls, life wasn't as polished. Ronald had faced more struggles than most could imagine. He had grown up in a small Florida town where opportunities were few and far between. Losing his wife to cancer 10 years ago had been the hardest blow of all. Suddenly, he was both mother and father to their 2 children. He worked long hours juggling the roles of provider-caretaker to keep food on the table and disciplinarian. He and a roof over their heads, sacrificing his own comfort to give his kids a shot at a better future. The old sedan was a daily reminder of those sacrifices. Its engine sputtered more often than it purred, and every commute was a gamble. Some mornings it refused to start altogether, forcing Ronald to rely on a patchwork of borrowed rides or long walks, but he never let it dampen his spirit. "One day at a time," he'd tell himself as he tightened his grip on the steering wheel and coaxed the car into motion despite his own hardships. Ronald never lost sight of what mattered. His children were his world, dreamed of seeing them succeed in ways, and everything he did was for them. He never could, and that dream kept him going even on the hardest days. Unbeknownst to him, Ronald's quiet resilience and unwavering kindness hadn't gone unnoticed. One student in particular, Baron Trump. Most Baron was just another student at bad, been paying close attention to Oxbridge, reserved, a jittle shy, but always polite. Yet behind his quiet demeanor was own sharp eye 3 and an even sharper sense of empathy, and lately he had been watching Mr. Baron saw things that others missed. James, 39. It started with little observations, the way Ronald always greeted everyone with a smile even when he looked tired, the careful way he went about his work, ensuring every detail was perfect, and the moments when he thought no one was watching, like the time Baron saw him replace a broken locker handle before the student even reported it. There was something about Mr. James that stuck with Baron, something that made him want to know more. But Ronald had no idea that his simple acts of kindness were about to spark something extraordinary, a moment that would change his life forever. Baron Trump had always been different from the other students 5 at Oxbridge Academy. While his peers chatted about the latest trends, compared luxury vacations to, or argued over whose family had the better car, Baron often found himself on the fringes observing 8. He wasn't uninterested, just thoughtful, raised with the idea that everyone's story mattered. He learned early on to pay attention to people, not just their words, actions, to their struggles, and the little things that often went unnoticed. It was during one of those moments of quiet observation that Barron first started to really notice Mr. James. To most of the students, the janitor was a background figure, someone who faded into the fabric of the school. But to Barron, Ronald James stood out. He saw the way Mr. James always arrived early, coffee thermos in hand, his cleaning cart rattling softly as he navigated the hallways. He noticed the care with which Ronald did his job, wiping down desks, polishing floors, ensuring the school felt more